Hi, I'm Dr. Amanda Ferris. I'm one of the founding members of the Health Shift Project, along with Shelley, a registered yoga instructor, and Sherry Bergen-Geisel, a holistic nutritionist. Together, we're combining our expertise to make your journey to wellness much simpler. Within our membership community, you will have access to all sorts of educational tools, techniques, videos, tips, and tricks that you can access at your convenience. Also, we'll be moderating and supporting a really great discussion group and way that you can support yourself on your day-to-day health. Every week, I'll be providing videos that are a science-based, mind-body approach to your health, ways that you can learn about how to optimize how your body functions, how your different organ systems function, and especially to do with stress. In my 20 years about learning about the body and about natural health, there's nothing more important than how your body responds to stress. And if you have been living on the planet for the last few months, you have been involved in one of the most stressful worldwide situations we have. And that might be on top of a lot of personal stress you might be having. One of the things that happens to our nervous system when we encounter that much stress is it makes it very difficult for it to switch into that parasympathetic state and get into that rest and relaxation state and sleep. There are two things that I want to focus on today that I think you can work with within your day-to-day life that's going to help you get a better sleep, feel more rested, and therefore deal with stress better. Most people know that they need more sleep to feel better, to be less stressed, to function better in their day-to-day life, to communicate better in relationships, to function better cognitively. They know that it would help their body be more resistant to disease, that it would help their weight management. All sorts of things would be better if you could sleep. But one of the things that stress does to you is keep you from sleeping. It sabotages your ability to sleep. So it's tough. But if you wait till you're falling asleep or in the middle of the night when you're waking up and laying there to address it, it's really tough. Fixing your sleep is something you do during the day with how you treat your body and how you eat. Those two things are going to really affect how your sleep is at night. So the two places that I want to look at today, just to give you a better scientific overview of what's happening inside your body, are to understand brain waves. Some brainwave states are for being alert and analyzing information. Some are for thinking creatively. Some are for getting into that state right before you sleep. And then the very slowest form of brainwaves are when you're actually in deep sleep. But we need to pass through these stages to get to that state of deep sleep. So I'm just going to map that out for you so you have a really good understanding. Later in the week, Shelley's going to post a video and give you some yoga techniques about how to move through these brainwave states better and get yourself off to sleep and staying asleep much better. The other place I want to talk to you about is blood sugar control. This is really going to affect your sleep and your waking cycle. If you have poor blood sugar control, you're going to find that it's very hard for you to stay asleep. If you're having trouble falling asleep, waking up at a certain time at night, or waking up too early in the morning, what that might mean and how to address it. So first off, let's look at the brain waves. At the very base level, your brain is composed of neurons. These are very tiny pieces that signal each other and create electricity in the brain. This is how your brain talks to different areas. You can measure this electricity by putting on this fancy contraption, and researchers can measure what state your brain is in. These are the 4 brainwave states that can be measured. At the very height of your capacity to think and analyze are the beta brainwave state. Then you can see the brainwaves get a little slower, a little farther in between. That's the alpha brainwave state. Then even slower than that is the theta. That's right as you're about to fall asleep. And then even slower than that is the delta waves. The beta waves are the highest frequency state. I'd be in a beta brainwave state right now. I'm thinking, analyzing, talking, engaging. If I was arguing with a person, if I was running through my to-do list in my head, if I was feeling fired up, angry, and anything like that, I would be in a beta brainwave state. Anything where I'm focused on my external environment, things that are happening around me and I'm having a reaction to them. But when I'm finished interacting with my environment, I might take a big breath. And I might just start thinking to myself. That happens all the time. And you just start looking around and you might get an idea. And then you know your brainwaves have slowed down. You've moved more into the alpha brainwave state. And that will reflect how your body is handling stress. You're not going to be in as high stressed of a state. you're starting to come down to being reflective. You might start focusing on your internal environment. You might start listening to and getting messages from your body, like your neck is tense or you're sore standing on your feet, which you might not have noticed at all when you were in beta and engaging the world. There's also a sense of satisfaction that comes from moving from that beta state down to the alpha state. Like you've just completed a task, you've checked something off your list and you're like, yeah, awesome. That's associated with a sense of satisfaction, a stress relief. The next brainwave state that is even slower is the theta brainwave state. This brainwave state is associated with hypnosis. If you were going to go have a session of hypnosis, they're able to put you into this theta brainwave state. It's even slower than alpha. You're even a little bit more out of it. It's the state that happens just before you fall asleep, when you really have shut off all your thinking capacity, all your analyzing capacity, and you're very susceptible, you're very open, you're just letting thoughts flow. This is where we're aiming to get when we practice meditation. That's really the purpose of it, is to slow down your body and brain enough that your internal stress system can completely change how it functions. Your nervous system can balance and you can move into that parasympathetic rest, relaxation, digestion state. Now, what's interesting about theta is that from the time we are born until we're about 7 years old, we basically exist in this theta state all the time. And if you've ever wondered why children are so impressionable, and you're able to tell them things like Santa Claus, and you're able to tell them things and they take it in as pure belief, it's partly because their brains are in a pure state of theta. This is where we learn all of our subconscious beliefs and information. This is why this age and this time in children's lives is so important, to build foundations that they're going to come back to for the rest of their lives. What they believe about themselves, what they believe about where health comes from, what they believe about what will happen in their lives, their sense of optimism, pessimism, it's all based on what happens to them in these first 6, 7, 8 years, somewhere in there. And you can tell a child that's a little bit older, they might engage you in a different way and be like, really? I don't believe you. But a child who's still operating in that will be very impressionable. So that's why hypnosis works, because we put ourselves back into this state. But it's not really that weird or woo-woo. We do it every day. You can't get to sleep unless you pass through this theta state. But it really is a beautiful state, and it's a state where you can come to the place where you really enjoy a sense of safety again. And so that's part of what happens when you practice yoga and meditation, is you're able to slow down your body enough because you feel safe enough. And you're able to do a lot of resetting in that state. You can reteach yourself, your subconscious. You can change what you believe about the world based on what you do believe now. You can do a lot of reprogramming, a lot of changing your beliefs, your subconscious state, if you can learn to slow down into this theta state. And then those things can stick. Things that you want to believe, the positive things in life that you're trying to tell yourself, but they just don't stick when you're in that high beta state, because it's correlating with a very high stress state, and you're in a state where you're much more wanting to fight, flight, and protect yourself. Whereas in theta, you feel safe and you feel slowed down. When your brain has slowed this much, this is where you have access to your intuition. If you want to ask yourself, what should I do in this situation? How should I respond to this person? What's the best course of action for me? Should I take this diet? Should I take this supplement? Should I see this doctor? Whatever you're worried about and not sure how you should respond, you want to get yourself into this type of brainwave state where you can actually access your deepest intuition. You'll also find yourself in the theta state whenever you're driving, taking a shower, just going for a walk, riding a bike, when you're doing something routine that you don't have to think about how to do it, and your mind can move into that wandering, engaging state. That's theta. And that's where you'll get these just pop-up ideas where you're like, why didn't I think of that before? Those things all happen in the theta state. And then the slowest state that our brain can be in is the delta waves. That is when you enter deep sleep. This is the state your body heals and repairs itself in. We have to reach this state of sleep for enough hours in our night in order to really repair our bodies. You have total loss of awareness of your body. You can't sense what's happening or be reflective about what's happening in your body. This is also the place where you release an excessive amount of growth hormone, and that is known to be anti-cancer and very healing. So just to recap, these 4 states are the beta brainwave state, where you're awake and thinking and engaged. And when you slow down, you're still awake, but you're becoming more reflective internally instead of externally. Then the theta brainwave state, you pass through this as you're falling into sleep, where you become very, very relaxed. You might be daydreaming and your body is really relaxing. And then you move into the deepest state, which is the delta waves. Within my workshops, we're also going to talk about gamma waves and meditation and how those two connect, but that's for another discussion. So if you're finding that you're having a lot of trouble falling asleep at night, it could be because your brain is still too active in this high beta state. You might still be engaged in your day and analyzing and thinking about what you should say and what you should do the next day, doing your to-do list. You may still be engaging with a computer or TV or something that's really causing your brain to stay active. When you've been through lots of stress in your life, you can lose the ability to really move through beta, alpha, theta into delta easily, and you could just get stuck spending too much time in that beta state. I'm also going to talk about what's happening within your body. We're going to look a lot at the stress response and the nervous system as well. But just for today, think about if this applies to you. Do you need to do more things to help your body move through these states so you can access that theta delta state a little more easily? If you find that you're waking up through the night, that can be a different problem. Maybe you're getting a good sleep for 3 to 4 hours and then you're suddenly waking up. One of the things that can be is poor blood sugar control. If you're finding throughout the day that you have lots of cravings, you're feeling maybe a little hypoglycemic, starving sometimes, really low energy, that's going to affect you through the night, how you sleep. Because if your blood sugar drops too much, that's a danger signal within your body, and it's going to wake you up with the intention to make you eat to save your life. But it's going to spark your cortisol, and you're suddenly going to feel this panic sensation, and your brain is going to start going. You're going to zip up into that beta brainwave state, and you're going to start thinking something's wrong. And what happens to most of us is we don't necessarily realize that it's a physiological problem that's happening, and we quick go to whatever is going on in our lives, whatever stress story we have going on, and we start thinking about how to solve it. What we have to do the next day, we might be worried about getting up in time, all sorts of things might be happening. We're thinking, instead of help moving ourselves back down into the delta state. So the meditations and things that we offer within the Health Shift Project are all tools that you can use to help bring yourself back. But also a tool is improving your diet, improving your blood sugar regulation so that you don't end up in the state where you're having these big blood sugar drops. The health of your liver is really important. If you're someone who has a lot of toxins, exposed to a lot of toxins, exposed to toxins in your food, in your air, in your environment somehow, your liver may have trouble controlling that blood sugar for you. And that's where you'll find another problem as well. Melatonin, another really important hormone that tends to decrease as we age. So that's why kids tend to get better sleep than adults. Melatonin starts to rise up to help us fall asleep about 2 to 3 hours before we're ready to go to bed. So if you usually go to bed at 11 o'clock, let's say, by 8, 9 o'clock, your melatonin is starting to rise. And importantly, it actually suppresses your insulin because your body's thinking, okay, we're all done eating. That was a daytime activity. We're ready for sleep, ready for cleaning your body, doing the restoration that you need. So if you eat late at night like that, you're not going to have as much insulin to get rid of that blood sugar. So if you eat late at night, even if it's a good thing, your blood sugar may stay too high for too long and then do that crash later on in the night. So it's really important that you stop eating 2 to 3 hours before you sleep. Now that melatonin is supposed to peak at about 1 a.m. So if you're waking right then you know that your melatonin might be too low. You may want to consider and talk to your health practitioner about a melatonin supplement. That can be helpful, but the key things there are making sure that your sleep area is as black as possible. You want to have no light. If you're someone who's waking at that time and having trouble, make sure that you have no clocks and phones and things around you that have EMFs and that you're in total pitch black. That's really going to help you stay asleep too. Now, you'll also learn in my workshops when we talk about meditation that you can increase your melatonin secretion just by meditating, and that's been scientifically researched. So that may be something you want to consider too, is beginning a meditative practice, which, as we've talked about before, is just about slowing down your brain waves and moving your state out and moving your nervous system out of a stress state. Another support you can use is time-restricted eating, or what's often termed is intermittent fasting. We're going to talk about all the essentials of that, how to do it, but basically what you want to think of is that there's a certain period of time within your 24-hour cycle that you eat, and there's a certain period of time that you sleep. And to start, I always like to suggest to people that they do 12 hours on, 12 hours off. So eating from the hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then resting and relaxing from the hours of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. About that. But you can play with what works for you in your life, but really try to think about keeping the food away from when you're trying to sleep. Within my workshops, we're also going to take a deep dive into stress, what's happening within your nervous system, within your brain, within your body, with hormones and chemicals when you're stressed, and how you can really help yourself. Because I'm sure many of you have thought, if I wasn't so stressed, then I could sleep more. And if I could sleep more, then I wouldn't be so stressed. It's such a chicken and egg thing. Where do you start? Well, I think you start with the stress, and you start with addressing your body physiologically, changing how your body's functioning so that you can feel less stressed and so that you can sleep better. And you've probably experienced this before. Once you start getting good sleep again and feeling refreshed, it's amazing how your outlook on life and how your energy can change and how your ability to really address your stress in your life is going to get much better. If you like this video and you want to learn more, stay tuned for Shelley and Carrie's videos this week. Shelley's going to do some yoga that's going to give you the skills to help move yourself from beta to alpha to theta and be able to unwind your brain either at night when you're trying to put yourself to bed, or if you're waking up in the middle of the night, and helping you get that longer period of sleep that's going to be restorative and help you through stressful times.